magnet schools that are at risk of losing their magnet status retain their funding for their magnet programs?
If they lose their magnet status, they won't retain their funding for their magnet program.
So if they were a fine arts magnet, do they have to cancel all their fine arts classes?
Well, in District 5, we have very active and very well-funded PTOs. And I know that in the school where I taught, the PTO provided many services that were cut from our budget because it was in the parents were committed to making sure that those services, that those programs continue. In a lesser funded school, then they would lose their magnet. And when they lose their magnet funding, they also lose the transportation funding for that.
I think there's a nuance to that question because there are two reasons why a school could lose their magnet funding. I think one reason is because they no longer have the capacity to attract students from outside their boundary to attend their school. And I think we need a comprehensive magnet review of that, and one was done a number of years ago and then scrapped that would have had a sunset provision in it so that we could not yank the rug out from under schools that no longer attracted students to their program. But I think there's a bigger conversation of a proposal that was put out by the district this year that basically was going to get rid of almost all of the magnet programs and the funding that went with them, that would completely decimate a school like HSPBA and reduce them to funding that would have a half-time fine arts person for every single discipline in that entire school. So unfortunately, I think that this answer is way more complex than 60 seconds can accommodate, but we do need a comprehensive review of our magnet program, but that continues to sustain high-quality programs and doesn't yank the rug out from under them.
So I think especially small campuses that have magnet programs, they have it tough because they don't have the student population to sustain the kind of overhead that sustaining some of those magnet programs beyond losing that funding, might allow. So there's a few things that we can do to help either campuses band together or help beef up campus populations as a whole. One, I think if there are campuses either across the district or within a district, we should encourage those campus leaders to talk across with one another. If they can share administrators, if they can share resources across those campuses, I think that would be hugely beneficial. I know some of that's happening already, but I think that's somewhere where the administration can have a very positive impact to step in and help that sharing to occur. And another thing is we need to encourage campuses, if they have such a small population that they can't sustain a lot of these programs, to start co-locating, to start banding together. We have a lot of schools that apply for the small school subsidy, and I know that you don't want to gut a community by eliminating its neighborhood school, but if the choice is to have a neighborhood school that doesn't have these programs that are so vital versus having maybe a more concentrated school that does, then that should be up to the community to know the full trade-offs of that decision.
We need a clearly outlined magnet policy, both where schools are evaluated every year to make sure that they meet the requirements of the magnet school. We need to understand that there are some magnet schools that may not make a whole lot of sense, and we might need to change what that magnet is. For example, we do not necessarily, I do not think that we need a medical magnet school for an elementary school. I think that maybe that school should either change its magnet program to something that might be more attractive to other students outside of their boundary, or we need to, if that school is just looking for some more funding, then we need to just make sure they have a really strong science and math program if they're trying to do a STEM type magnet. One thing that we also need to do is we need to make sure that we're talking to principals, because that proposal that came out that the superintendent Crowns about, he and I discussed that, and that was because a trustee had requested that, what that might look like if we had to get rid of the magnet program. And I talked to our principal, and he said, you know what, we will actually be okay because of this new school-based accounting measures that we're having to do. We've been able to run the numbers, and we'll be okay. So principals really need to be involved in that discussion along with community members, because there might be a way to make those magnet programs work without having necessarily the magnet program.